Don't go outside. Make sure you take your Zombrex and stay tuned because we're talking about Dead Rising Watchtower on Video Game Movie Anatomy. Stick with us.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Video Game Movie Anatomy.
What's up, everybody? Hey. Welcome to Video Game Movie Anatomy, where we dissect your favorite film adaptations, or not, of your favorite interactive media. Right. I'm one of your hosts, and it's Mark Donica. Joined as always, we got the full crew back, and we're taking a long enough break from Pokemon Go to talk about this movie for you. Joined, of course, Mrs. Stacey Shuttleworth.
Hello, I'm Stacey Shuttleworth. You can find me online at Stacey Shuttles on Twitter or at Nerds Doing Stuff on Twitter and all over the web.
And of course, Mr. Peter the Dees, Patrick Dees.
Hello, you can find me at Peter the Dees, very well said, on Twitter. How's it going, guys?
It's doing great. It's been a while.
It has it?
Oh, I mean,
RTX and other stuff.
But I think that's the thing.
Busy.
It's been busy.
Yes.
4th of July, having a holiday, and then Patrick and I were at RTX in Austin, so even though it was a couple of days, even more time just in general has passed. So yeah.
Worth the wait, though, I gotta tell you. When you told me we were doing this movie, I was pretty excited.
Hey, you didn't have to pay for it, though, because it's free.
This is true. But I paid for it with my time. Are you kidding me? 2+ hours.
True, it was a pretty big
on Crackle, those ads.
Got me.
Those ads.
Not a fan of it.
And I did that thing, like, when you're watching Crackle, well, I don't know if you guys know this, I found myself during the course of the movie being like, how much time do I have left? And when you watch something, you just click your, iPad or whatever to see the how long you've got left. And I kept doing that during the ads, which don't do that during the ads.
No.
It takes you to I added at least another 5 minutes to this journey, if you will.
Drawing it out.
Yep.
I guess it's not a great sign. I was doing that too. It's like, how much time is there left in this? I thought this was just like a hour 40.
Somebody needs an editor.
Times.
Yeah. Somebody needed an editor, and yet they made another one.
I don't.
We'll talk about that at some point in the future.
It was way too long and nothing happened. How do you do both? How do you do both?
It's
a non-ending. So we'll get into it. Let's break this down for you. So set between the events of Dead Rising 2 and 3, the story follows online reporter Chase Carter and his camerawoman Jordan as they cover the stories of the people inside of the walled-in quarantine area in the fictional town of East Mission, Oregon, as the government, running an organization called FISA, the Federal Emergency Zombie Authority. It was so clearly Canada.
Yeah.
It was
a million percent.
Canada.
Yeah, and I literally did the thing where you said Canada. I went to jump in. I'm like, no, it's super Canada.
Totally Canada. So they're trying to contain a viral outbreak that turns people into ravenous zombies.
Yeah. They're ravenous. But they're also they have a weird semblance of intelligence, that clearly fired a gun, and then the clown, he knew when he was clicked out of bullets, he was way more self-aware than normal zombies. But it seemed to vary a little bit.
Yeah, and I have something in my hand, but I'm going to take a cognizant swing. Yeah, this was a different.
It varied.
Yeah, it varied from Zamble to Zamble.
Yeah.
So to get started, you've getting an idea of our general thoughts about the movie. But we do something on the show called a speed run. That's where we traditionally supposed to be looking at both of y'all. Take a quick stab. With us, Summer Games Done Quick just wrapping up. We're trying to take a quick look at what we thought of the movie. For example, Mortal Kombat has a cheesy script but nails the spirit of the game. Does anybody actually have a quick speed run?
No.
Cool.
Go first. Lead us off. This is tradition at this point. I want to hear your sick burn. This is what it becomes. I don't want to call this a speed run anymore. It's just the sick burn section, because literally every week I'm excited to hear Tracy's.
I mean, this is the most out of control I've gotten in a while, I think. All right.
Out of control?
The speed run.
All right.
Well, lengthy. I've been pretty good the past couple of times. All right. Settle in for a hot mess of a film in which the cast and crew struggle with an in-depth world and circumstances that they clearly don't know how to handle. Unfortunately, this unique take on zombieism is bogged down by underdeveloped subplots, awkward first-person shots, and a complete lack of connection between characters and the world that they're inhabiting.
Yeah.
Doesn't fit on the back of the box, but I think you nailed it.
It's the
goes onto the inside.
Yeah.
It's like the tall steel books, like the special editions where it's just text. Or it's like the
really
insert.
Little.
So did you legitimately not like the first person stuff?
Some of it was really weird.
It was weird.
It was uncalled for. Dead Rising isn't a first-person game.
Totally agree, but it worked from a style perspective for me. It's one of the very few things I think in this film worked, so it was interesting to hear you call it out.
It was just weird, the point of views that they chose in some instances. I mean, I like the use of first-person in when in action scenes like that, sometimes they can be really fun. It was just some weird choices.
It was.
Did you think it worked better in Doom or here?
I liked the one in Doom. I think it worked pretty well.
You lip licker?
Well, it's just, look, when we talked about it during that show, in retrospect, I liked it a lot more, but it's impossibly dumb and gimmicky. I felt like this contributed to the style. Like when it was similar to, like, do you remember that episode of Breaking Bad when Jesse's digging a grave and they mounted a camera on the top of the shovel?
Yeah.
And it really, like, all right, that's really interesting. I think, for me, it was one of the few swings they took at doing something interesting cinematically here.
See what you did there?
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Fair.
Nothing gets by you.
No, nothing.
Except your name gets by me. I called you Tracy a minute ago. I'm sorry, Stacey.
We were talking about Overwatch.
Consummate pro.
We were talking about Overwatch. You had Tracer on the brain.
I did have Tracer on the brain. God, that game is good. Can we talk about that game instead of this movie?
We will afterwards.
Done.
Okay.
Just wait for it. This will be after hours. VGMA after hours. What's your speed?
I have a speed-ish run, but it's better than I usually am.
Good.
Dead Rising Watchtower is impossibly long, boring, and budget as fuck. Dead Rising Watchtower is a poor adaptation of Capcom's game and an even worse horror film.
You consider this a horror movie? I would consider this an action movie more than
It wasn't a horror movie, and that's what we'll get to when we talk a little bit. Like, this movie suffers from an identity crisis in the worst way. It couldn't figure out what it wanted to be, and I felt like there were moments where it tried to evoke some horror. For sure, it's an action film, but it just missed everything it was trying to do, and I think that's what's a bummer. If it could commit either way, this could have been really fun.
I agree.
Right.
I thought it was I thought this was fun enough at parts, but it was too spaced out.
Yeah.
To really make you go, oh, this is fun. So mine is a guilty pleasure for fans of the game with plenty of guilty zombie tropes and the pleasure of a few game references.
Yeah.
That's it. Y'all kind of nailed it with yours too in terms of plot and character interaction. Yeah, not that fun. But we're gonna go from there to even more just shade that we're throwing. We're gonna toss some controllers with our controller toss moment. It's that moment when you're watching the movie and you silently have "You've got to be kidding me!" Throw that controller across the room. Is there a limit? Oh my God! That's a third of her page.
I'm sorry.
It is a third of my page.
So
how many controllers did you toss?
Why don't we go Stacey, then we go Patrick, then we go Stacey, then we go me, then we go Stacey. Yeah.
I like it.
So, I mean, some of them are really nitpicky and stupid.
That's fine.
No, those are the best kind.
So we'll start with one of that. When they are first evacuating the city, that was the most orderly evacuation of a city I have ever seen.
It's Canada.
It's
true. Canada.
True. I'm sorry.
That's the problem.
You go before me.
When you get Canadian extras, they can't help but be, we got to get everybody. Make sure to turn left on Morrison Street A.
Yep. It's only 22 meters ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it just kind of set this meandering pace for, we're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse.
Right.
That kind of carried through the whole movie after that. And that was like the first point of, okay, well, this is what we're in for.
It's not the one I thought you were. We've lost Mark, ladies and gentlemen. Please tune out.
Sorry, I was thinking about the Dead Rising 4 trailer,
Yes.
which is the reason why we're doing this, is the Dead Rising 4 amazing trailer that happened at E3. Goodness. Patrick, what do you have?
Okay, I know this is kind of a ridiculous one, but do you remember when they take Jordan and they throw her in the quarantine for the first part, right?
Yeah.
Like his partner. They throw her in the quarantine, and he basically throws her in this quarantine area and then does a little tiny zipper. It's like, stay right there. You're in quarantine. You're in timeout. Like, just stay there.
But
just
she
like, don't.
stares at it like she can't get out.
Yeah, totally. Like, I'm just never leaving here. And I was like, come on. Like, yeah, that was my first, like, this is the movie I'm prepared to watch
One
now.
of the few deleted scenes is showing how afraid of zippers she is. Like,
it's a flashback to like some trauma when she was a child.
Only button
she had a bad
flies.
zipper.
Only
if
button
you
flies.
examine her outfit
We've all been there.
in the movie, you'll notice she has no zipper.
She hates playing Kingdom Hearts because Sora just terrifies her, covered in
ran
zippers.
screaming the first time that trailer played. Man.
Yeah, but I mean, it's that old Mitch Hedberg joke. You can never get into an argument in a tent because what are you going to do? Storm out and slam the flap and just zipper it up really quick? Fuck you.
I was like, I'm so stuck here.
Yeah. Oh, no.
What did you have, Mark?
I had... You want to talk nitpicky.
Okay.
So a lot of the movie is them held up in that pawn shop. And... and Maggie keeps finding bottles of orange juice.
I know she
does. Just like, eat up. Oh, drink up. I was like, that's a lot of supplies for just one dude in a pawn shop.
There's the orange juice market has gone through the roof. You can get a lot of like other things for orange juice. The market's gone crazy.
I mean, in the zombie apocalypse, it can't be too crazy.
Good point.
Also, vitamin C, good alternative for Zombrex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose.
Sure, why not?
Sounds like science.
Why not?
Yeah, it's just really dumb and nitpicky.
No,
but
so you ahead because
we
we're
got some
never
more.
going to get through
We
you.
got some
I've got
more.
a couple.
Stacey.
So here's probably like the one that was most like, all right, this is where like the suspension of disbelief, can't go anymore. So
in a zombie movie.
right,
Yeah.
So it's when they're running for the car and Chase is left to kind of distract the zombies and go on his big old rampage.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, who has proven that he has no skills whatsoever
Nope.
in the first half, however long it was until the scene of the movie, all of a sudden is this zombie massacring machine.
Yeah, it
And he
became the game immediately, right? Like somebody
Yeah.
flipped a switch and be like, "Oh, okay, now play the game."
It was a pretty cool scene, and
Yeah,
I
I
liked the
think so
way
too.
it was done, but it made no sense.
It's
that
the
he
it
would
was
be
the
able to do
Surfbot
this.
shirt is what it was. If he had the
Oh, okay.
Surfbot hat that
He
was
would
in the
be
pawn
gay.
shop, it
That's-
would have been like, whoa!
And that's the movie I want.
That would have been excellent.
That's the movie. Like, just own it. Be ridiculous. We'll get to casting a little bit later, but I recast this movie with people who would be funny and could be decent action stars. Like,
Why
this is the
not?
movie that should have been, because we've had so many serious or quasi-serious zombie films. Let's go over the top. That's what makes those games fun.
Yeah.
Let's just own it. Like because they did a really good job of layering in all of these, like, all those Easter eggs, like, for people who know the game. So let's just go full out. Like, they put the cone on that zombie.
Yeah.
Great
That was
moment.
great, yeah.
If we could have had like an hour and a half of that,
Or
I would have
even
watched that.
When he picked up the sandwich board, I was like, there's even
Yes,
a sandwich
I
board!
know. I totally agree, and that's why those games are great, and this is why this movie could have been great.
Recently, one of my favorite Let's Play folks to watch, the Game Grumps, started playing Dead Rising 2. And
Yeah.
the first thing they did when they were running around is they got a giant onesie and a little, like, puffball hat.
Perfect.
And, like,
Wonderful.
sneakers. And we're like, all right, I got a little butt flap. It'll be easy to make bears in this because I can just unhook the thing. It was just, that's the thing.
I agree.
It's hard to take something that's all about choice and, like, how you play the game and make it, this is the one way that it's going to happen.
But even like what they did, like they went down the right path. They went to the pawn shop, and she's like, make some weapons, and that's where this could have come off the rails and been like, let's just own it. We're gonna be goofy as hell, and like, and then didn't. And
No,
you're right.
they kept it too serious, and then they could have a lot of fun making weapons.
And speaking of that action scene, there were a lot of zombies that were early for their cue, and it threw me out of it.
Oh really?
Like Chase was like setting one from behind, and one comes up, and then like kind of slows down a
Right.
little bit.
yeah, I noticed that a couple of times.
And then like, oh, back.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but did you see also during that scene how many zombies were Frank Green from the game wearing that yellow
Chuck
and
Green.
black
Yeah.
jacket? Chuck Green.
Chuck
Sorry,
Green.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was just. The weird thing is, at that point, they sell that jacket.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of people cosplay
sure.
as Chuck Green and have that jacket. I'm very surprised that.
But he came up like 3 times. It's like,
Yeah.
in case you missed him once, here he is again and
More
again.
time.
Yeah.
Did you guys play Dead Rising?
Did you?
play Dead Rising
Here's
2?
a
I've heard of
reference.
that
Do
game.
you want to see the reference?
That would
got
have,
it.
dude. Dead Rising 2 is so much fun and crazy, and having the death something reality. They have a zombie killing reality show that Chuck takes part in to
Yeah.
make money to buy Zombrex for his daughter.
Yeah.
And that's where you like. We had a little bit of it with the motorcycle, but if like a motocross
Totally.
with chainsaws on
Yes.
both of the handlebars,
yeah.
like I'd be all about that movie. This
Right.
one was it was cool that we got new characters, but
That's the movie I wanted.
yeah. Well, let's get another one from Stacey because we got
We got a
list
few.
here.
All right. Well, here's the bit. The phone lasted 3 days?
Uh,
It didn't die.
I want that phone.
He's taking high quality video, making phone calls, doing phone interviews, and he's doing this 3 days later.
Go ahead, Patrick.
I just liked at the very end when they finally owned
Oh,
it.
yeah.
2 hours later,
I
like
know.
my phone in real life didn't last as long as it did through the
No.
2 hours. And at the end, he's like, "Can I charge this?" Connects it. I gotta take this. Just,
Exactly.
yeah, I was like,
And he
Instantly.
immediately
Yeah.
takes it off, and I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
you know what?
He literally got
it's
connected.
Like they almost tried
yes.
to make it into the ridiculous that it could be, but
He-
they just it was too late at that
The
point.
thing was, he
Yes.
had it on
Which is-
airplane mode.
Ah,
That's what it was.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Of
Yep.
course.
That's what
Fair
it was.
enough.
Yeah.
Or he had a car charger for the clown's disgusting van. Or something.
Sure.
But that the phone at the end of the movie was another one of mine. This was a controller toss moment of happiness. The thing
Okay.
that first hinted me that this movie existed was Harley Morenstein from Epic Mealtime going, "Hey, I'm in the Dead Rising movie," and him being the guy at the end torching the chicken and setting a zombie on
Oh, cool.
fire.
That
yeah,
was
like
pretty
all of
good.
that was like, okay, all right, give me my controller back. I'm in.
Yeah.
Where's his movie?
Yeah.
Can we have? I mean, actually, he's gonna be in Kevin Smith's next movie, Moose Jaws.
Okay.
It's essentially Jaws with a moose.
Sounds all right.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Pretty excited about it.
That guy was the best part of that film. That's the when
His
he's
laugh
stuck.
is the best.
Totally. And he's like, no, kill him. Kill him. That was great. One of my favorite parts.
Go.
I have one, just because I value you guys as, we're not journalists, but I've seen both of you conduct interviews, and I think you guys do a really good job. You get people talking. Mark and I were just at RTX, and you're asking insightful questions, having conversations. In this movie, Mr. Jesse Metcalfe, Chase, wants to interview her about this, what's her name? Is it Virginia?
Crystal?
Maggie, about her daughter.
Oh, yeah.
And says, can I interview you? I want to put it on camera. He literally holds up his phone. Go.
Yeah.
Doesn't say a word.
Doesn't intro it.
Lets her talk at him and then turns it off. Like, best interview ever. Like you did literally no interviewing.
Need to see this. And the weirdest thing is the shot, the first sort of over the shoulder that they showed, even though Maggie was moving a bit, it looked like it was just a still picture on the screen.
Yes.
I don't even know what OS that was. Like what type of a phone was that?
It's future tech. It lasts forever. It's by the guys that made Zombrex.
Actually, also speaking of phones and the magic of them,
yes.
Jordan leaving her phone up and recording in the Wall Street Journal thing.
Oh yeah.
And it's just it has battery instantly, and you can watch the video and all of that. Whatever.
I stopped at that point and I was like, wait, how? That doesn't make
Just
any sense.
phone magic.
And it was actually Robbie who explained it to me. He's like, no, she left it propped up. And I was like, no, you're making that up.
No,
That's not
she didn't leave it
possible.
propped up.
I get that. But I was like, that is reaching to the extreme.
But also how clear that video was
Yeah.
I was
through
like,
the
there's
Wall
no
Street
glass.
Journal
Totally.
glass.
There's no glass there. And it was, yeah.
Okay, so this movie was essentially a controller toss moment. Unfortunately, we have to have a little bit of a shorter show today, so we're gonna move on.
All right.
It's okay.
We got most of it.
Let's move on to the cast. Like for the most part, the performances were all right.
We're all right.
We're pretty good.
Yep.
There was a little bit too much score that sort of made the other some of the performances just like what? Why is this so dramatic right now?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for the most part, I like Maggie a lot, and she stuck around a lot longer than I expected.
She was great.
Getting Dennis Haysbert, I felt like I was in good hands. It's a dumb Allstate joke, but yeah,
no, I liked it.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
think without a doubt, the shining beacon of light in this movie, which is what I sold Patrick on,
Yes.
and everybody on,
Yes.
Frank West, played by Rob Riggle.
Only
was
reason I agreed to watch this movie.
The best part of the movie.
And
was
consistently,
beautiful.
every single time he's on.
Because that's the comedy from the
I
game.
totally
Yes.
agree.
That sort of kept us in, but the actual part of the movie,
Everything he said.
was just like, nah.
Yeah,
Whatever.
literally no memorable
Serious.
quotes outside of him.
No.
And the movie's real dumb and not memorable, all 2 hours of it, but like his combined like 3 minutes.
That was 2 hours.
Wait, it was.
Wow.
Two,
It was
two,
2 whole hours.
2 hours.
2 whole hours. And now there's a hole in my life.
Only
Yeah.
about 3
In my
minutes
heart.
of Frank West.
But it was so
unfortunate.
good.
It was really good. So we had, we're not doing our recast this week. We're doing something else. We're trying to shake
True.
it up because this was so recent and the game is also such a recent franchise. But Patrick, you did some recasting. So coming at this from a comedic angle.
Yes, I just really quickly, I thought
Yeah.
like if they're gonna own this movie, if they are gonna lean into like having it be more funny, a little bit more of an action take, I've got Kit Harington as
Kit Harington?
Kit Harington from Game of Thrones.
Jon
Yeah,
Snow,
yeah.
Okay.
Did you see him in the tennis mockumentary on HBO?
Yes.
His comedic timing is unbelievable. Could be a bit of an action star. I've got Crystal as Kristen Wiig from the
Oh, God.
Ghostbusters.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
All
So
right.
I want funny kind of action. And then we
just
have
went-
to. I want
I like
Logan.
how you say funny and you start with Kit Harington.
I know, because
from
he's
the most dramatic
True,
series on
but
television.
Pouty-est human being.
Pouty-est,
yeah.
but he's
I know.
hysterical
He
in
is
that.
funny.
Like, and he's one of those guys like, hey, screw off. You're really talented in everything you do. I get it. You can be serious and funny. He probably dances. I mean, like, he
probably
Kind of
probably
thing.
does.
Would
And then
not be surprised.
so Logan, kind of the leader of those nut jobs, right? Who for me, I actually kind of really liked.
I thought
loved
he
him.
did a
I-
fantastic
I kind of really
job.
like that guy. I think he was one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. Like,
good.
did it best with some really terrible lines, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
the insinuation of sexual violence was like not needed in this film.
Yeah, when you do that in.
But if we can cut that and make him Andy Samberg, like this is a movie that is totally watchable. For
No,
me.
but the backstory still works because we got the monologue about how I was nothing, I
Yes.
was nobody, but now I'm somebody.
Totally.
You take a guy with that type of bravado
Yes.
and make him this giant nothing.
Totally.
Dude, I'd be super into it. But actually, speaking of Logan, I loved him.
I agree. Best part of the film.
Absolutely great.
Aside from Frank.
Yeah.
Right.
A serious part of the film.
Sure.
He was the other, thing that carried the action when we were in the city.
And after he got bit, I was like, we're going to get him mutating in the middle of the fight, and it's going to be better than the stupid Nemesis thing from Resident Evil a couple of movies ago. Ugh. But yeah, I liked him.
But he represented this weird
job.
tonal shift. That's what I keep talking about. Like, it wants to live in two different worlds. It's this serious action film, but also this goofy kind of over the top. And it couldn't decide. And if they had just committed to that, this could have been something memorable and really stood out from all those other zombie movies out there.
And I think that's the problem too, is it doesn't stand out.
It doesn't.
It's like, it's a zombie movie, we're looking for a cure. The cure doesn't work.
Which is just kind of remarkable to me, because the premise of how their zombies work in the first place is so interesting, and it's not often explored. The idea that the zombies are still human and that they're diseased instead of dead. And so it's such an interesting premise, and just that it fell so short and was so basic and uninteresting.
Yeah, we rarely get a movie zombie world that has a cure.
Right.
A working cure.
It's so interesting. And, I'm sitting there, I'm like, yes, they can go into all this backstory. We can get all this, this conflict between, they're going out there killing people. They're still people.
Right.
But there's no consequence. There's no thought about it. There's nothing.
Literally scorch the earth.
I do think the Zombrex commercial with the little kid drawing, the animated, was pretty fantastic.
That set us up for a tone that we weren't expecting. It's like, all right, that's Dead Rising.
I agree.
And this is not.
Everything that I really liked, I wish they had just leaned into 10x. Like, if they'd just done that, this movie could have been really fun. And that's why we'll get to it. But
so let's talk about the plot a little bit.
Yeah.
It takes a Zombrex. There's a little bit of an outbreak. Zombrex stops working, so we have a new outbreak in the city in Oregon, East Mission, Oregon. And we have Frank West as an expert on this news show, giving terrible advice, really shitty advice.
Awful.
The best.
Or the best advice.
Or the best advice. Psych, you're all fucked. Is that what your book says? It's just one page and says
over and over again.
There's lots of words. There's lots of words.
There's lots of words on lots of pages.
Lots of pages.
Thank you.
So good.
Those two.
Good defense.
OTP. But
They're both gonna beat you for that comment.
We've got Chase and Jordan, this news team, trying to survive the outbreak and break the real story, and they find Crystal, who is a Zombrex taker, trying to survive. She is the key to what this zombie outbreak is truly about. It's them trying to escape the city. There's different factions in their way. They meet a person who kills their daughter because she had an outbreak, unfortunately, and it's really sad, unnecessarily sad.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite part about that ending was seeing them zombified hand in hand walking towards the firebomb. And I was like, oh, it's so great. And going on your thing about they're still human, it's Mom, be with me, and it makes it so much sadder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Like, I don't see, again, like that part works if it hadn't have been for this ridiculous sob story, that scene with the play a game with me when she wanders in and finds the daughter. That's really dark and kind of screwed up and doesn't fit tonally with the rest of this, and should have ended up on the cutting room floor, independent of even if it was tonally consistent. Get it out of the movie because we're already at 2 hours.
You don't need that.
Right?
No.
And so again, just this, I said it before, but this movie represents a big missed opportunity. This really could have been a thing and had a lot of potential.
I think if you cut the first action scene, the flash forward, where we have Chase fighting the clown and the cop.
Yep.
We didn't need that in the first act.
No.
They was just we need something action-y in the first bit where we shot everything. We'll just do the full cut of that scene and put it on top and we'll come back to it. No, because the second cut of it is cleaner and better and crisper.
Worked really well.
I agree.
And as a result, though, I don't know if that's because we saw the scene already and we're like, oh, just get through it. But either way, if you just let that scene happen and build to that instead of us giving us that at the top, we might have gotten a little bit more of a connection between the audience and Chase.
Yeah.
Right.
Just ugh.
Well, not even going into connections between us and the characters on screen. There were no connections within the world. I mean, you have this team that comes together, the our three main characters who form this zombie fighting team, or at least a survival group. But they never really connect with one another. They never really mesh into a team. that like looks out for each other or even cares about what the other is doing so much, and that kind of carries through, I think, in the entire movie. No one is connected to anything. They're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse and they're all so busy focusing on their own goals that.
But almost to the detriment. Like, I like what you...
no, like in a terrible way.
Totally.
It's not, it doesn't work. If they had like actually interacted with this world a little bit more or become a part of it, it just felt like they were just superimposed on top of this world that could have been really cool.
Yeah, that was jarring at the very beginning. Like when she gets into the pawn shop and they're like, "Let me in the door!" Like there's not a zombie for like
can't do that,
30 feet, and she's just sitting there looking.
And they're not runners; they're shamblers.
I know.
they're just kinda...
Plenty of time. Like it was jarring for me to be like, so like about their self-interest, right?
Yeah, well, and then even later on, after they've spent all this time in the pawn shop, when they're going into the warehouse and Maggie disappears, they kind of turn around for a second. They're like, "Oh, where's Maggie?" "Oh well,
whatever.
Carry on."
Yeah,
she was expendable.
Yes, but it still doesn't make sense why they were.
I like that she survived for so long, but it was ultimately she's not going to stay alive.
Yeah, you knew she was going to go down at some point.
Sorry for interrupting you.
No, I just was wondering where they were going to get their peanut butter sandwiches after she was gone. I don't. Is that even possible to survive?
She magically found all that.
I know.
Those making supplies and
throw that controller again.
Amazing.
So did you or did you not like the little smiley face in the jelly that she made?
It was even sadder because she was making it seemed like she was making it for her daughter.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, again, unnecessarily sad for him to just go and just eat it.
Angry shoes.
Yeah.
Fucking PB&J taco. Just like whatever. Like no reverence or anything. Like softly caress the peanut butter and then like wipe it off. Like, whatever. It was weird. And then him having like a weird discovery of self after he sees Crystal like take the Zombrex and he's like, "Ugh, I gotta wash my face."
Yeah.
And, like the crying game, like something.
Also,
Weird.
It was weird. Like the tonal shifts are just so unfortunate.
I know.
And yet I want to see if there's any closure in the second movie, but that's going to wait until Dead Rising 4 comes out later this year.
Guarantee we watch it.
We're going to have to. We talked about the game similarities. We got plenty of references in this. Just in general, using Zombrex. Zombrex is a huge part of 2 and 3.
Yeah.
You picking up anything as a weapon, combining weapons. Frank's book cover being Dead Rising 1's cover. Just metal as hell. And him saying, "I've covered wars, you know." I was like, okay, all right, we're here. The Servbot head, Chuck's jacket, and then, and here's
the
another
cone.
and the cone.
Yes.
All of the weapons that you just randomly pick up and find. I think you can't have a game, or you can't. Well, excuse me, you can't have a movie that's super serious. And they play their own game.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Yeah.
For sure.
They were playing Dead Rising 3.
So 2 problems with that scene outside of it being in the game, because like you don't have enough zombies.
Yeah.
1, he's playing on 7 televisions, disorienting. 2, that man's never played a video game in his entire life. The concept of dual sticks did not compute for this guy, and he's like,
dude, nobody ever plays
Destroying
games
it.
for real.
Nope.
I mean, just watch the 40-Year-Old Virgin when they're playing Mortal Kombat, and they're just going, like pressing all of the buttons
it's
at
a
once.
pet peeve of mine. I kind of can't stand that.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
And it had the obligatory game over screen, which I thought was pretty great.
If it was going for comedy, it would have been great.
I know. Yeah,
If it was a comedy movie.
It had,
It
but the
would've
minute
been
you saw the
great.
game, you knew that there was a game over screen.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so we're going to speed a little bit through some of our other things because we're running out of time. But this production came together really quick. June 19th, 2014, it was announced that Legendary Pictures, Legendary Digital, was going to create its first movie, and that was Dead Rising. Lorenzo de Bonaventura, who is insane, literally insane. If you look at Lorenzo de Bonaventura, he is a psychopath. He was involved in a lot. Well, I say psychopath loosely,
You know, in the good sense.
the good
of that
kind of
word.
psychopath.
Yeah.
Look at Lorenzo de Bonaventura. But in under a year, or in just under a year, this movie was released from announcement. June 19th to March 27th. A year. This movie was shot, it was edited, and it was released.
That's insane.
It's
That is-
insane.
So I think more of the film now. Like just knowing like what a nightmare.
Pull all that together
Man.
that quickly. I mean,
Well, most of it was shot in a pawn shop. Let's just be honest.
Pawn shop, factory,
Yep.
downtown, beautiful British Columbia.
Oregon.
And then our director was Zach Lipovsky. He was on the. Do you guys remember that reality show On the Lot?
Nope.
Where it was a directing competition where
Okay.
and he placed like 5th. but from that, he was a
Seems
child
right.
star. He was a child star who was in Goosebumps and Xenon.
Stop.
He was an actor in Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century.
Oh, well, I mean, I like him a lot more now. Right?
Exactly.
Qualifies him.
Turn
to direct
director.
this.
There we go. All right, I'm in.
The only big other movie, I say big, and this is me as a WWE fan, Leprechaun Origins, which came out recently, not good at all, is the only other of note film. He's directed a couple of other things, and this is his. I would say this is his biggest film to date, and now he's directing stuff for the Disney Channel.
It feels like a fifth place director directed this movie. Is what I feel, right? Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then for critical, not a lot of people talked about this movie.
Nope.
I literally found 2 reviews.
How
one
many?
positive. What? That's 2.
That's 2?
1, 2.
Okay.
TWO. Felix Velasquez Jr. from Cinema Craze says, I'm usually very rough on video game adaptations, but Dead Rising is a surprisingly very good take on the hit video game of the same name. To which I would counter with our other review from Scott Weinberg from The Nerdist. You've seen it all before. True, but at least it's not boring. I say that's the action. Some of the action is you don't see the sledgehammer saw. You don't see some of that stuff, but
The electric sword.
Electric machete.
Yeah, it was all right.
That's one of my favorite weapons in the
I
game.
agree.
Good.
Yeah. All right. So we're doing something different for our games. First, we're going to do favorite line. Does anybody have anything specific, or are we just talking about Frank West?
Can we just talk about Frank? I mean, it's all going to be the same lines.
I mean, you're all basically fucked.
That's correct.
Yep.
I mean, I've covered Wars, it just, for me as a fan of his, it's just huge. Absolutely.
That's good.
When she asks him if the government's working hard, and he says the government's working hard on not shitting their pants.
Yep. Yep.
One of my favorite lines, Frank. Thank you.
And he goes on, of course, to say, if you're on the inside of this one, whoa, shit, you're really fucked.
How's it going to go? It's going to go real bad.
Beautiful.
Why do they keep inviting him back?
I kind of like...
She hates him.
But I kind of
there.
love
He
that.
just won't leave.
I think he was just there
He just
the
won't
whole
leave.
time.
He's credible.
He had nothing better to do.
Their
covered
dynamic
Wars.
was great.
was really good.
Her just being constantly frustrated but kind of loving it was the
Done.
best.
I'll take 20 minutes of that.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's cut out.
I want to buy his book.
Everything else.
Dude, I would if
that
they
interview.
wrote a Frank West's book.
I would
From his
kickstart
point
it.
of view.
From Frank's
so
point of view,
good.
I would buy,
On board.
as a piece of extra content.
Totally.
I would totally buy it.
100%.
All right, so we're not going to be recasting this one. It happened too recently. They're doing more of them, and the game franchise isn't that old. So
Yeah.
we're doing something different. We're going to be doing our top 3 zombie games that should be movies. If you want to tell us your top 3, hit us up VGMA Anatomy on Twitter, or leave a comment down below or on iTunes. We will read it. Top 3s. If anybody has bonuses, because I may have an extra one, but I just want to see if we, in no particular order as well. But what do y'all have?
So I feel like there's one that we're all gonna have on.
Absolutely.
It's a pretty recent zombie game.
Yep.
That's come out. The Last of Us.
Yeah, it has to be. It's my number one
You
with a
consider that a
bullet.
zombie game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
okay.
number one with a bullet. I don't think it's even close.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one.
I think it's Josh Brolin as
Beautiful.
Joel. It's all I want. I think has to
we're
happen.
getting it.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it's in development hell,
Fine,
right?
but if it ever
if it
moves out.
materializes, right? So
But that
I
one's that one's
just
gotta
just
come
make it
along.
animated. That's what I want. Like even though it's
could-
super realistic,
yeah.
like the just like the Uncharted movie has been in developmental hell.
Yeah.
Just make it animated. And
Right,
the animation
yeah.
is so beautiful on the PlayStation
and we can
4
keep
these
the
days.
original
Yeah,
voice
that's great.
actors.
Keep the original voice
Thank
actors.
God.
Wonderful, even better.
Troy Baker. Man,
Yes.
that guy's
Baker.
talented. That is just one of my favorite narratives, independent of medium. I just think that is unmitigated genius, and part of me really wants to see what they would do with it, and part of me is just like, let it be. That
Right.
was a great self-contained experience, but given the
I'm
pool
with
to
you on
choose
that
from,
one. I'm with you on
Right.
that one because you can really only tell that story. You need that time.
Yeah.
You can't break that down
Nope.
into 2 hours.
Nope.
And they
No.
would probably want it down to an hour and a half.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which you can't, even if you put a montage in
Yeah.
there. You can't do that. If you
No,
give
too
us
much.
the prequel story, what was the with Ellie?
Oh, yes, yeah, I know,
Yeah.
totally.
Yes. If you give us
Left
that,
Behind?
Left Behind.
Yes.
If you give us that, that's
all
one
right.
that I can see in like 2 hours. But
Okay.
that's a full.
I think that
No.
Joel is such a complicated, well fleshed out, 3-dimensional character that he has to be part of whatever they're telling.
Sure. I also
Right.
don't like him as a character.
I mean, but that's part of what's great, no, right? You don't like
I
him
don't
as a
like him
character.
as a
you think
person.
I don't, and neither. I think objectively he's a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
We could do a deep dive in this forever, but that
could.
would be number
Yeah.
one with a bullet.
My number one is Left 4 Dead. Like
got
I
that
didn't
one
I didn't
too.
consider Last of Us a zombie, even though it sure as hell is.
Yeah.
But
Left 4 Dead would be great.
Left 4 Dead.
In what tone?
I would say a little bit of comedy in there.
Yeah.
Dark
Right?
comedy.
Dark comedy would be great,
Oh, yeah.
like Shaun of the Dead type.
Yeah.
Or maybe even darker.
If you do Shaun of the Dead type, it would have to be the Left 4 Dead 2 crew.
Okay.
But if you go a little bit closer to serious, I would say the first
Yeah, I could totally see that. Who's the one that says, "I hate stairs"? You know what I'm talking about? The older guy? It's great. I just
Bill?
want all those
Was that
quotes.
Bill?
Yes, it's Bill.
Yeah,
He
okay.
hates stairs. It's
Yeah.
the one thing I know about that man.
Okay, so
Hates 'em.
So we've got
Always.
Last of Us, Left 4 Dead. What do you got? What's another one that you have, Patrick?
So I'm gonna go with Dead Space 2. I know I'm going out on a limb. So I like
Just all of Dead Space.
All of Dead
Yeah.
Space. I think 2 is the most compelling narrative of the group. And again, like a wealth of knowledge that Church of Unitology is just
Frightening.
terrifying, and like I think would be is quite the unmined IP. So Dead Space.
I'm gonna go in a completely different direction and say Plants vs Zombies. I think that could be a fun movie for kids.
Totally.
I love the Garden Warfare franchise,
Yes.
so if you use that, there's a whole bunch of silliness in it. But if you keep that animated, the only problem is you run into the Minions thing where people don't speak actual English. And the plants don't talk and the zombies don't talk.
Pixar style, you thinking?
I would
Makes
actually
sense.
think Illumination. Like I would think that DreamWorks would
Yeah.
get the Minion guys to do
Totally.
it. But yeah, I think Garden Warfare could be fun. Let's do one more lightning fast from everybody.
Okay, so this one, I've not played this game, but I've read the description. It's just fantastic. It's called Zombier.
Zombier.
Yes, you get bitten by a zombie, and the only way to stave off the infection is by drinking beer.
Spoken like a true alcoholic.
Super down, Patrick.
I'm gonna go State of Decay.
I almost picked that one.
Yeah.
It's real good. It doesn't follow one specific person, so you could theoretically have plenty of people die, and the point of view just change to whomever.
That would be a fun, kind of unique
Yep.
take on it. That
I
would
One
be
that's
neat.
got a budget as well as talent behind it.
Yep.
If they do Call of Duty Zombies.
Oh,
Yeah.
These past couple of years, they've had huge stars in
Yeah.
it. All you have to do is translate that to real life and put some sort of a story connecting the four between it. I think it could be fun.
Give
So
me some
let
Jeff
us know
Goldblum.
what your top 3 are down below in the comments.
Yes.
Really quickly, we've kind of given all of our thoughts
Zombies
about
Ate
this
My
movie.
Neighbors.
Oh, Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I was thinking
oh,
about that
not
one.
bad.
But what I want for that one is a stop motion.
Okay.
If they make that like a Coraline style
Okay.
stop
Box
motion.
Trolls.
That-
Dude,
Yes.
box trolls. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I
Leica.
like it.
If
I like
Leica
it.
does it,
All right.
I'd be super into it.
Fun.
That was my fun one. Really quick before we go, Extra Life for Game Over on Dead Rising.
Extra Life, make it goofy as shit. Let's do this.
Seconded.
I will third that. There is another one in the series. We are going to be doing it later in the year when Dead Rising 4 comes out. But next week, in 2 weeks, right after Comic-Con, because of Pokemon Go, all about not Team Valor, Team Instinct.
Team Mystic.
Nah, whatever. Pokemon 2000 is what we're going to be covering in
Grand
2
down.
weeks. So Pokemon 2000, find it, watch it, get all nostalgic. That's Patrick Dees, Peter the Dees. That is Stacey Shuttleworth at Stacey Shuttles. I'm Mark Donica on Twitter at Mark Donica. Thank you for watching Video Game Movie Anatomy, and we will see you at the arcade. Or not.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.